Hi, my name is Heather Hutchins, and I am a surrogate coordinator and case manager with Agency for Surrogacy Solutions. I wanted to take a few minutes today and just answer some of the most frequently asked questions about surrogacy. A surrogate mother is a woman who carries a child for intended parents who are not able to carry them on their own. So there are different types of surrogates. There's a gestational surrogate and a traditional surrogate. At our agency, we only work with gestational surrogates, meaning that the surrogate is not using her own eggs during the surrogacy. A traditional surrogate will use their own eggs, but a gestational surrogacy is a little bit cleaner legally, so the intended parents will either use their own genetics or hire a third-party egg donor or sperm donor. We're often asked, how long does the surrogacy process take? And this can be a very hard question to answer because there really are a lot of factors going into a surrogacy. The first one being what type of intended parents is the surrogate looking to work with, and what restrictions does she have? And also, what are the intended parents looking for in their surrogate? If everybody has kind of an open mind about who they're interested in working with, then obviously the matching process can be much faster. The next potential delay in a journey would be how soon the fertility clinic can get you in for a medical evaluation. Assuming that a surrogate has regular menstrual cycles, then usually the clinic can get her scheduled pretty quickly, and the results from that come back in just a couple of weeks. The next big factor in the timing of a surrogacy journey is the legal process. We do actually do what's called contract points in our agency that helps to speed along the process because everyone has already agreed to the major financial points before starting contracts. But there's always the opportunity for negotiations in contracts, and so sometimes these negotiations can take extra time. From that point, the surrogate will be on medication for about 4 to 6 weeks before the embryo transfer. And assuming that the first transfer is successful, then we're just looking at the length of a pregnancy. So typically we'll tell a surrogate and intended parents that the process will take about a year from start to finish. Surrogates will often have questions regarding how their payments will work. And of course, this can be very different with each agency. So at Agency for Surrogacy Solutions, our payments are standard that once contracts are signed, you'll receive a monthly allowance, which is paid out each month throughout the course of the pregnancy. And then the primary payment is the pregnancy compensation, and that begins once the pregnancy is confirmed by a positive beta and then followed with a positive heartbeat ultrasound. And then from there, the compensation arrives the first of each month throughout the remainder of the pregnancy. There are additional payments for travel, embryo transfer, lost wages, maternity clothing, all kinds of little odds and ends, but the primary pregnancy compensation starts once the surrogate is confirmed pregnant. I have had surrogates ask me in the past, how do they know that this isn't a scam, or are we really going to pay them to carry a child for someone? And what I would say to that question is, if that's a concern of yours, interview agencies, go with your gut. Our agency has been around since 2004. So there is a long-standing history we have with both intended parents and surrogates. And if you'd like to speak with some of them, we absolutely can put you in touch with some of our past families that we've worked with and surrogates that we've worked with, and they would be happy to share their experiences with you. But in regards to whether or not any agency or surrogacy process is a scam, I would say call us, talk to us, ask your questions. Any agency should be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns that you have before you start the journey. How a surrogacy journey might affect your day-to-day life is really not too different than from a typical pregnancy. Of course, you may have the the traditional aches and pains of a pregnancy, and the wonder of when you're going to go into labor or scheduling doctor's appointments. The only other real factor that might be different than a typical pregnancy is going to be the travel that's required for your medical evaluation and your embryo transfer. And both of those, you would be traveling to where your intended parent's fertility doctor is, most of which are here on the West Coast. And so you would just have to kind of work with your family and potentially your employer to schedule those trips. But other than that, again, surrogacy is just very similar to any other pregnancy that you may have already experienced. We have surrogates who often wonder if they're going to have any say on who they're going to be matched with. And I have known agencies who will just match the next surrogate with the next intended parent. But with Agency for Surrogacy Solutions, that is not how we work. I really am impressed with how our agency does hand matching with each of our cases. And so in your profile and in the intended parent's profile, we ask a lot of questions about your communication style and personality, and we take all of that information into account when we're looking at matches for you. So we always try to present a match for you that seems like it's going to work already. And what you'll do then is you'll have the opportunity to look over each other's profiles. And then we always like to set up a video call so that you can get to know your intended parents or your surrogate before you officially match, because sometimes all of our personalities don't necessarily come through on those paper profiles. So having the opportunity to talk face to face before you're officially matched really helps to solidify with everybody that it's a good fit for most of our cases. The relationship between a surrogate and their intended parents can vary from case to case, but for the most part, our surrogates and intended parents often will create a friendship throughout the course of their journey. Most of our intended parents do live internationally, but they will always FaceTime or use WhatsApp or Skype and have video calls, phone calls, text messages, emails with their surrogates. And that really helps to create that bond as the pregnancy goes along. We have absolutely seen journeys where everybody is a little more distant, whether that be busy or just hesitant about the process. And so then it's a little bit more of a business transaction, but that's really not as common as I know a lot of incoming surrogates tend to think. The ending in a really strong friendship is what we see more often than not. We've even had surrogates who have gotten to travel to other countries to visit their intended parents, and parents who come here to the United States to visit their surrogates after the journey has ended as well. Agency for Surrogacy Solutions prides ourselves on being a very hands-on agency. We do have a case manager, a coordinator, and one of our directors who oversees every case. And we try to keep everybody in touch with both the surrogate and intended parents as you go along through the process. We know that pregnancy is not a 9-to-5 business, and so we don't act as a 9-to-5 company. You have personal cell phone numbers to be able to reach out and text and call if it's an after hours concern that you have, and we try to always be present for all of that. So we do try to be a pretty hands-on agency, especially for our first-time surrogates. So if you think you might be interested in becoming a surrogate, please feel free to click on the link below. That'll take you to a quick questionnaire that you can fill out, and that will come to our coordinator staff, and someone will be in touch with you shortly. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.